to listen to and of course internalize, imbibe and put to practice. Play safe, and that launches us to takes us to the next stage of the show today, TMI, this beautiful Thursday morning. Well, one major issue that has put Edo State in a global perspective right now is the issue of crisis between the University of Benin and Edo State Government over properties belonging to UNIBEN that were allegedly destroyed by some folks on the borders of the State Government. Today on the show we have here a panelist to look at this issue objectively for and against. In following this matter, UNIBEN took Edo State Government to court, and of course they lost. But they are also saying that that judgment has been appealed, and without waiting for all the judicial processes to be carried out exhaustively, those properties have been alleged to have been sold, and those who bought them are now taking ownership of those properties. Well, that's the thrust of our discussion today on TMI Thursday package with yours sincerely. I have with me in the studio two erudite lawyers. Chief A.B. Thomas is our panelist today. Glad to have you on the show.
Good morning to viewers at home, and thank you for having me.
We also have in the studio a former legislator, but also an erudite legal practitioner, Barrister Dele Igbeneghu. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you, my brother. Good morning, viewers.
Joining us as well for this discussion is a veteran civil society activist, a student union leader. We're glad to have, a former student union leader. I'd like to welcome to the studio Pastor Lou Martins. Many thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Happy New Year, by the way.
Happy New Year. Yes, first time. Thank you so much for coming. Well, Barrister A.B. Thomas, let me begin with you. What are your legal interpretations in terms of the actions that have been carried out on both sides as far as this reclamation of the properties owned by UNIBEN? So it seems, as far as it is concerned, let's begin from there.
Thank you. The background facts are now well known to everybody that UNIBEN went to court against the Edo State Government. The Edo State Government himself, and the Attorney General, asking for a declaration that those properties were given to UNIBEN in 1974 by the regime of Brigadier General Gbagbo as then was. UNIBEN lost. After losing, the counsel to UNIBEN and the most senior advocate of Nigeria in the South, KSO filed a notice of appeal, filed a motion for stay of execution, which are the normal things to be done. And from what I saw on your TV today, Okaine displayed where one mercy from the another respected son, Amanuwa's chambers, received these processes. Amanuwa was the counsel who appeared for the state government, and I watched most of the proceedings in court. Now the law is that if a party who has lost in a matter feels aggrieved, he files his notice of appeal, and if it is a declarative order that is appealing against, he now makes a further action. He files, and that is the paper we are seeing now on the screen. Now he files what is called a motion for stay of execution. While that motion is pending in the courts, no action must be taken by either party to render the judgment of the court or the judgment of the appellate court not guilty. You must not do anything to tamper with the rest, the Sunday matter. And once that is done, both parties remain as they were before they came to court. But what we now discovered in this particular case is that the government of Edo State that came to power through the rule of law, through the Court of Appeal, that was always disobeyed every court judgment of the state, decided to obey this one in favor, while disregarding the papers already filed. And I've heard some people say, oh, since I have won, I can just go. Viet amis. The Latin word viet amis means by the use of force. And this time now, government of the Turks, by the Turks, and for the Turks, use the Turks to take possession. That is not what the law says. The law says after you have won and there is no appeal, you still don't go and take possession. And that is what I've been trying to make the Attorney General of the state understand since yesterday when I saw him at EBS. There is still a final process that was not filed in this case. And I challenge any human being, I challenge all lawyers in Benin to go to the case file if there was any warrant of possession. If behind you here, in 2012, I bought 600 feet by 600 feet property with about 13 houses on it. In 2013, the opposite side, I got them with my clients for 600 feet by 600 feet with other 10 houses on it. Okada High Court gave judgment. I didn't go to destroy houses. What I did was to apply to the Okada High Court for warrant of possession. And the law says you must do that when you are taking over a property, whether just ordinary land or a building. The law says you must, under the Sheriff and Civil Process Act, you must do that. Otherwise, the due process of law is not exhausted. So I applied for those ones with the bailiff of court, not thugs. With the police, they went there and pasted this warrant of possession on the buildings. And it specifies the time, 48 hours, for the occupants of the buildings to vacate the place. Was this done in this case? So all the defense are hearing is that we will not serve notice of appeal. We will not serve motion for stay. Assuming you are correct. In any case, they are not correct this time. Assuming they were correct. Do not go and begin to destroy houses. When the law says you must obtain a warrant of possession.
Let me proceed. Barrister Dele Igunijon, you know, I need to bring it because he has made some raised some very sterling legal issues that I know you probably may want to quickly respond, except you are concurring with what he said.
Well,
do you disagree with that?
Well, I with all due respects, I totally, vehemently, with all the force in my fallible being, I disagree. Now, on two grounds. The first of all is the genesis of this whole thing. Now, when you started by introduction, you said that the property belongs to the University of Benin.
So it seems.
What seems and what the reality are two different things. So I may have to give a brief background with your kind permission. Briefly.
Go ahead, just go ahead. As briefly
now,
as possible.
when the University of Benin was established, and this is what people don't know, who they ought to know. And I also give a personal experience, because I don't say what I don't know. When the University of Benin was established, and the federal government brought the staff here, the then military administrator, Dr. Bemudia, our own revered Dr. Bemudia, to assist the university, allocated some quarters for professors who were coming in from other, who had been transferred and employed by the university, for them to stay. These properties were not given, they were not dashed. It was not a gift to the University of Benin. The government did not sign anywhere saying, we hereby assign this property or give it, is now your own property. No. They were allowed to stay there temporarily until they found their footing. Well, as things go in government, they have been living on these properties. They continue to live there for several years. Some professors who live there, some have died. Some have left services of University of Benin. Some have lived there for 34 years, 20 years, 15 years. They don't pay rent to Edo State Government that owns these properties. I don't know if you are following, sir. Now, Edo State Government retained the ownership of these properties. It has never moved to University of Benin. However, in during the administration of Professor Osumbo, it's a PDP problem. The federal government decided to monetize some of these quarters which belong to them, which their servants were living in, their employees. So they asked all federal government parastatals to send list of all federal government properties where their employees were living. Erroneously or whatever, some of these properties, including those of Edo State Government, were listed by these people and forwarded to the federal government because the people living there didn't know how the properties came about. Now, I'll give a personal experience. I will pause there. When I was in the House of Assembly in 1992, I had my quarters slightly, the one I was allocated to. After all the members had got their quarters, they gave me one just outside the perimeter of all the others. The NAPTEP, National Business and Technical Education Board, came to Edo State that year. They met Governor Oyegun and asked for some accommodation because they needed places to stay. Now, Oyegun met the Speaker of the House and explained that when the House of Assembly quarters were originally built during Bender State, there were between 34 and 38 units. Now we were 24, which means we had extra, about 14 to 18 extra. He now wanted those 18 to be given to NAPTIP. You know, when the meeting was held, the parliamentary caucus meeting, I said, no, we can't have strangers within us as members of the House. I didn't find it, convenient. So but after a lot of discussion, they say, well, they should assist them, certain individuals have intervened, and I should relocate my family from my quarters to another. When I looked at the other place, I didn't like, I said, I'm not moving. They said, fine, if you're not moving, we'll still have to fence you out. So they erected the perimeter fence, fencing out all the members of the House to one side, and leaving me and the NAPTIP staff on the other. So they built another gate, which I was now using until the military took over. Now, NAPTIP people stayed there as licensees of the state government. When the federal government, during Professor Osumbo's time, Obasanjo was head of state, now advertised federal government properties for sale. Those quotas, which were, given to NAPTIP as temporary accommodation, was also advertised, and NAPTIP staff who were living in there bid to pay for them.
Is that what happened in the case of this UNIBEN?
Yes, that's where I said. Yes. Okay. That's why I said I will pause. Now I bring the two together. Yeah. During that Professor Osumbo's administration, the federal government advertised those quotas and also these properties of Edo State Government which UNIBEN staff were occupying, and others. These were not the only two, and others. Benio Wena had some, other federal government parastatals had some. So they advertised all of them because they just asked their staff forward towards the list of quarters. People just sent, if you are located a quarter now, for working for this organization, you assume it belongs to the organization. If you are asked, please give a list of all quarters occupied by staff, you also put that list. So erroneously that was done. The Edo State government were very quick. They contacted the federal government and said, look, these properties don't belong to you. Then the then Attorney General, Owoyamonua, senior advocate, one of our very brilliant minds. Very brilliant mind. His daughter made the first class recently. Law school and then from University of London. Just yes, the point now, so he took out paid adverts. Paid adverts in national newspapers, went on air to announce these properties do not belong to the federal government. These 18 flats, these 18 houses do not belong to the federal government. They belong to Edo State Government. They were only, it was allocated to people to stay in temporarily until you found your feet. The same thing happened with the one of the House of Assembly. Now what NAPTIP did was they went through, certain people met the House of Assembly Speaker and asked for time. Please give us time, to move away. Yeah. They were given an initial 6 months. After the 6 months, it was extended because none of them could find alternative accommodation. After that, NAPTIP quietly moved away. And
why don't you just leave the NAPTIP?
But here's the point. Okay, wait now. Yes, that's the law. You were served. Were you not served? That is the issue.
Just hold on, please. Hold on. Just hold on. We'll come to you. Yes, Vice.
Law does not exist in isolation, my brother.
You go to the point now.
The point is this. First of all, these people are licensees. They have no title. Now, it's important we understand the background, because a lot of people are going around, why are UNIBEN students demonstrating? Because if you want them on air, they say the house of our former Vice Chancellor was destroyed. That's what they are saying. That's what's making them angry.
Because maybe they are also obsessed with the procedure adopted.
I will come to that. I will come to that, and I will dismiss it.
I
will dismiss it in one sentence.
Please.
One sentence and one sentence only.
Okay.
Now, when this thing happened, the Edo State Government formally served notice 3 years ago. Please leave our quarters. Since now you are advertising them for sale, it means that you have not challenged our title. Please, and Oshomo, they serve them notice. Leave. UNIBEN, instead of leaving or making an arrangement for accommodation or whatever, went to court.
We've heard about that.
Fine. So having gone to court, they litigated in court. They went to bring Dr. Bemudia as their witness. Dr. Bemudia came to court. I was there, he was there, and told the court, I did not give this house, it's not a gift to UNIBEN. They were only allowed to stay there.
I disagree.
You cannot disagree. When you were talking, I didn't even whip out. So don't. At the end, the court gave judgment in favor of Edo State Government. Now, Edo State Government, this is the technical legal point, had counterclaim, asking the court to give it immediate possession. Tell these people to vacate forthwith. When the court gave judgment, dismissed the claim of UNIBEN, upheld the counterclaim of Edo State Government, and ordered people to vacate immediately, because the court made reference to the fact that they had had a 3-year period to make preparation. Okay. Now, at the end of that, they were asked to leave. This was on 16th of December. They made no effort. They didn't reach out. They are saying now that they filed appeal, they served process. Now, I have to say this, and with all due respect to my little friend, the fact that you file an appeal is not an automatic stay of execution.
If an appeal...
No, when you were talking, I didn't say a word. The fact that you filed an appeal is not automatic stay. The fact that you filed what do you call it, a motion for stay is not automatic stay.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
I have had several cases where people filed appeal. I continued with the execution of my judgment.
Okay, let me pause you then, By Delegman.
Am I going to wait for you, who is my opponent, because you filed a paper in court? I will just go to sleep. Okay, I will not enjoy the fruit of my judgment.
Let me pause you then.
No, I'll take his permission.
Hold on. You are not the one here.
I'll take his permission.
Hold on.
I want to say this.
What you want to say?
My friend said, if you file a notice of appeal, it is not tantamount to a stay.
Is it?
It's correct.
Exactly.
Excuse me. But the moment you file a motion for stay of execution,
it's automatic
and you
stay.
serve your party, the court enjoins you not to do anything. You stop.
What do you mean?
That is the position in law. Then number two, because I want to quickly correct facts. He said federal government established UNIBEN and Edo State government gave them properties. That's not correct. Ogbemudia is established Institute of Education and Institute of Technology. Ogbemudia built Institute of Technology. And when he built it and now made it a full-fledged university, Ogbemudia gave out those properties, and it was one of the exhibits that Ogbemudia tendered in court. What was wrong? I can say it, I don't fear. What was wrong was that document with which Ogbemudia, it was read in court, a gift. That document did not have the crest of the
state government.
Midwest government. And that document simply put the name of the person in the Ministry of Education. But it was written there that it was a gift to the University of Benin. Now the issue the court looked at, because I attended the trials, the issue the court looked at was whether that document...
Should we be going into what the court looked at, or the government?
Look at what the court looked at this stage. The document was whether the document in itself was capable of transferring interest in the land to UNIBEN. So the University of Benin was built by Ogbemudia. Ogbemudia's government made a gift of those properties to the place. So that is what I want to correct.
Okay, let's proceed there. Pastor Martins, people have questioned the modus operandi in claiming these properties. I'm sure that seems to be the same reason why it's been it has attracted a lot of attention, commentaries from legal luminaries, from the civil society, student activists, and what have you. What are your thoughts on all of this?
I am happy that I have listened to two of them. I've asked myself very serious questions. Number one, what is the interest of government in that land? One. Two, is government looking for land? If government is looking for land, I am sure that Edo State is blessed with land. If government is looking for land. So I've asked myself, the only interest of that land must be the location of that land and the price that is attached to it. The good thing is that I am an expert in land speculation. So any land that is located in that area is prime land. Otherwise, there's land at another.
Sorry, what
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. Don't shout, please. I have the floor. Excuse me, sir. I have the floor. It is decent to stampede somebody, but you had your time. You need to be patient. It's a civilized society. You had your time, and you made use of this. Let me make use of my own. Yes, even if I'm talking rubbish, allow me to.
Go ahead.
Let me talk my rubbish. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
That is the... Now, I now ask myself, first of all, the essence of the law, the strength of the law is morality. Government essentially should do the greatest good for the greatest number of people, not for single people, within the shortest possible time. The greatest good. Government should have a housing policy. Does government have a housing policy? But beyond all of that, when you want to enforce a judgment, suppose it is even true, and government goes to enforce a judgment, who do you employ to enforce judgment? Talks. Who do you enforce?
Don't talk.
Who do you enforce? You see individuals, we saw them on television, and we knew who they were. But beyond all of that, leadership, one of the high points of a leader is that you must be constrained. Is patient in taking your decisions. It appears that this government is very deficient in patience. Do not forget that by a statement, go and die, it cost this government millions of naira. The woman got 2 million naira, and then there was no small furor in the media, and a lot of money was spent for that. The first time we were seeing a state government attempting to fight in public was this very state government. Again, is that what is the hurry in that land, and what touched us on the point of morality is that I listened to Professor Oshodi. If there's any professor that has been celebrated in the University of Benin, is Professor Oshodi. Supposing the law is even correct, go ahead and possess it. When you get there, and then you see respected citizens, intellectuals, academics who have contributed their quota, who have stayed here for long, what should government do? Government should provide an alternative. Supposing you are interested in that land. Okay, you guys want to talk about this land? This is what we have provided for you because of who you are. You know why I say so? Patrick Onweye Azazi was chief of army staff, chief of defense staff, and national security advisor. He had a house, was staying in McPherson, Nikoyi. And by the time he retired from office, the other state government bought that house for him, 2 million, because you are a senior citizen and you have represented the state as an ambassador. Professor Oshodi is not a small human, and there are professors there. Why they were eating? Why they were cooking? Some were not even around. Bulldozers moved in and raised the buildings whilst they were there. We saw kitchen cabinet, no time to pack. Government should have a human face. Supposing he is correct, is it morally right for government to move in while senior citizens who have paid their dues in this state? While Professor Oshodi was vice chancellor, he took 4,000 of our people off the street. Not casual work as is common in the state, but federal government is retirable on that basis alone. I thought that the man and the professors who are there, till tomorrow I respect my professors because they are contributing their quota. I'm not talking law, I'm talking why leadership should have a human face. I read Gibeon this morning. I read this in 2011. And the Gibeonites deceived themselves and came to Joshua and said, we are from a far country. Please deal with us likely the way you have, don't deal with us the way you have done to Jericho and Ai. And it has an agreement, a verbal agreement. Because we're talking about whether the government did it or not. A verbal agreement. Years, a few days later, he found out that Gideon was their next door neighbor. Why did you deceive me? He said, but because I've made a covenant with you. That is what leadership is. You respect the fact that these are human beings, that you serve their interest. I thought that what government would do is to consider those individuals and say these are very respected individuals. We will take our time on this particular matter. Let's relocate them. Look at the houses we have provided for them, at least in the interim. They have not moved yet, then they will have been justified. Not when veterans. How do you emasculate a nation? You visit its citadel of learning. You emasculate that citadel of learning. In a few years, that nation will go under. How was Benin able? How did they catch up Benin? They took our storytellers. Our people who were supposed to transfer story from one generation, they cut their tongues away, so that we will not understand where we are coming from. So if you want to build a nation, you preserve this citadel of learning. I felt very vexed. Forget law. I'm talking about leadership. I'm talking about compassion. I'm talking about empathy. I'm talking about sympathy. I'm talking about the human side of the law. If it was my father, while he was in the bathroom taking his bath, bulldozers moved him. One of the things that leadership must have is patience. We can fight over and over because we are explaining the walkway thing. The governor has apologized to the woman. Yes. You are justifying it. The governor who made the statement apologized to the woman. With millions. If the action were justifiable, the governor will not apologize. As much as the law is there, the human beings are not made for the law. The law is made for the human beings. That is why a lot of time we repeal laws, we reform laws, so that we can best suit the human being. Government should not be oppressive. And the question I wanted to ask, plus the question you asked me were, if you say there are 3 ways to enforce it, I wanted to ask you, what are the other 2 ways? Does it include the mobilization of thugs? And we need to extend it by the next day, sir. Nasu, Asu, and Sanu protested on the streets of Benin to NUJ. Thugs beaten on their way back. They were beaten and brutalized. Heads were broken. Senior professor, my father and your father. It is from university that you extract him. He is a product of university. He is a product. You are a product. That is where you extract him. That's a good university. They were beaten their heads were broken to pieces. The dean of students was played on the ground like football. In a stadium, we're talking about 2014. And don't think it's heartbeat of the nation, not heartbeat of thuggery. How did Boko Haram come? We need to be careful. Boko Haram came because Alimo, the sheriff in Borno State, thought that he had political detractors and mobilized individuals. When he left power, they didn't mop up arms. Today we have Boko Haram. Beyond what is happening. The empowerment of thugs, the use of goons and buffoonery in this state, excuse me sir, it is war reform. It is attached to it because please. Excuse me sir, I have my voice. I have my flow. These things are in the television showed it now. Television, I'm not talking about what is private. Television showed it where people were beaten. In the Nagbero Hall, during the now not so famous colonial issue, our people were beat. It's the fallout of this issue that make people to be beat. I'm simply saying, government will go, government will come. Comrade Governor Adams Oshomole, it's not the first governor, and it will not be the last. Government will come and go. We need to maintain the sanctity of institution. Above all, we need to demonstrate that government must have character. Okay. Government must respect its citizens, because it's popularly said, when people fear government, there's tyranny. But when government fears the people, there's liberty and liberation.
Okay, we're just on the verge of rounding up now. Yes. But, Brother Ebi Thomas, yes, what is the way out of this lockdown?
The way out is very simple. I have said here, and I expect the state government, I'm not mentioning names now, the state government, I'm mentioning offices. The state government, Attorney General, I want all of them to listen. This state judge...
Say he wants them to listen.
To whom?
He said they should listen. I mean, he has his right to say they should listen. But Sadele, can you just calm yourself? We will get to you. You have a lot of things. Please.
I'm just wondering what he has to say.
These people should listen. A judge of the Federal High Court once sent our own Attorney General to prison. And it is still under this administration. The judge that gave this judgment that was executed with talks now. Once gave judgment at Auchi, asking that the local government chairman be reinstated. It was not obeyed. But this one now, that they did not follow due process in executing, they did it in a very barbaric manner. I am praying that the remaining period left, whether I will have to go to my state, Ogun State or not, I am praying that we should be governed according to the rule of law, not according to the rule of using dogs to beat people at Ring Road, to beat lecturers of UNIBEN. That is not rule of law.
Okay, Master Evi Thomas, you are become an Edo person.
You are in Nigeria.
By the way, I don't want us to drag that point.
Okay.
But the question that I'd love to quickly ask you to comment on, I think it has to do with what he said.
Burning buses, beating people up. That is not what they should do.
Okay.
I will advise them humbly. They should go and study for their education. They should go back to their classrooms. Leave the road. Because the professors, some of the professors they are demonstrating for, some have died. Some have retired. Some have left Edo State long ago. So, like we said, some professors have lived there for 34 years. Are they demonstrating for professors that have left who have tenants in those properties? Some professors rented it out to tenants.
You can't substantiate that.
I'm telling you.
You can't substantiate that.
Oh no, don't say that.
You can't substantiate that.
One of them put one of his wives there. Professor Oshodi put his wife, one of his senior wife there.
So
he doesn't live there.
Between him and his wife.
Come on.
You are married.
Some professors are there. So he went up there.
All right, where I wanted to come in from is that there were talks also relating to this issue that those who bought the properties were the ones, effecting possession of the property. I don't know how to where it is. And some people have already bought this property.
Yes, I even hear that some level of royalties. It's beyond.
Your words are changing now.
Why are you saying
some level of royalty?
Excuse me, sir. Why
I've been talking firm since.
Excuse me now. But it's a daily ability. But it's you are an adult. And as an adult, Fela said we should respect the opinions of the other person. That's what Fela said in his song. I'm saying so because when something, a person says he's afraid of two people, and I'll probably add three people, the referee and the pastor, and I'll probably add royalty. So when it involves royalty, you want to be a little bit circumspect because of your respect for the royalty.
And we're still talking about respect.
Yes,
this man.
Paul was asked to be slapped by the high priest. And he said, "You whitewash sepulchre." He said, "How dare you talk to the high priest like that?" He said, "I didn't know he was high priest. If I knew he was high priest, I won't make that statement." His respect for office. So I am not afraid. His respect for royalty, sir. I have simply criticized the action of the governor. And if you watch me in all of my houses, locally and nationally, I address my issues with respect, but I am hard on my point. I love the sinner, not the sin. That is my position. And let me say very clearly too. First of all, is our student union leader. I was student union leader, and I was probably more radical than this boy. I am better off for it today. There are many politicians today. Many of them were former student union leaders who were probably more radical. Philip Shaibu was Nan's president. So this is part of what happens in students. It's their time, it's their face, and they should exercise their energy. It doesn't mean I passed there today and they allowed me pass on the basis of recognition. What are those boys fighting for? They are fighting for the sanctity of the university. David came to battle and heard the sweltering words of Goliath. I said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that you defy the army of Israel? He was a young boy. So what they are saying is, How can the government so defy the army of intellectuals like that, especially a well-celebrated professor like Professor Osho, and they have a reason to so do? Their methodologies may be questionable, but the fact that they have a reason to be angry that their professors were defied is justifiable. The way out, firstly, is that this is evident. The Attorney General said, even if the man that provided evidence on television. So I implore the Honorable Attorney General of attention of this state and the Commissioner for Justice to resign, because even among things there is honor. Secondly, I expect that the governor will back down and apologize for his actions on the basis of morality, and perhaps find a way to relocate those people and say, look, gentlemen, I am sorry about what our leaders should not be perfect. We're not expecting perfection. Okay, so they should not be defended high-headed. Apologize and then relocate those people, and the matter can be what discharged.
My time is up. Dele Igbenegbe, you had your time, and even had other people's time to your own in the course of this discussion.
But you can't ask the Attorney General to resign.
That's what the man said. That's what he said. That's what he said.
No, he said
that's what he said. That's what the man said.
I want to thank you.
My friend,
I want to thank you. I want to thank you all for coming on the show. I believe that one thing that we believe as an organization is to provide a platform for people to independently express themselves, and to also help you watching to have an informed opinion. Well, just to add that the Attorney General was actually supposed to be part of this panelist for this discussion, but due to some other official engagement, he wasn't able to make it. But we're glad that Barrister Dele Igbenegbe eventually made it to also give that balance, objectivity, fairness, and balance that ITV is known for as far as issues of this nature is concerned. Pastor Lou Martin, many thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
And Barrister Dele Igbenegbe, at such a short notice, you're always there with us. I appreciate you.
My respect.
And Barrister A.B. Thomas, Chief Barrister A.B. Thomas,
from Edo State.
young man.
Citizenship is more important than citizenship.
We'll take a break now, bring you the news update for this time. I'll be back to conclude the show. Don't go away. The world is a global village.